Hi everybody, it's Kat from Creative Crafts, and today's DIY is working with this foam. It's actually doing a recycle DIY. So if you guys want to know exactly what I'm doing, watch further. So everybody, today's DIY is we're going to make a yin and yang decoration. There's a few things you need. Of course you need the foam because we're going to be working with foam. If you have a big piece, super. But if you have pieces like I have here, I need to put two of them together. And what I had to do is, first I taped one side, and then, of course, you see right here, I didn't tape the back side first. Of course, I just did this. I should have taped it first. And the things that you need for this project is, of course, the foam. You need a plate. Big size plate, or the size you want to make the decoration. Something small to make the small circles. You need Mosh Posh or Elmer's glue mixed with water. And you need some kind of a kitchen roll or napkins that are white. Unless you want to use colored napkins and make this as one side color and another color, you can do that too. That's also a good suggestion. And what you're going to need is paint, tape of course, some kind of a rope, jute rope, I have this, or yarn, rocks, glitter, I have here some, seashells here, I have also some keys, I have all kinds of things, so that I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to put on one side and what's going on the other, so I don't know yet. I'm going to go do it as I go. So like I said, with a plate and this thing you can, I'm sure you know automatically what I want talking about. You put the plate, push it in and indent it into the foam, and you'll see the indent of it. You'll see all around here there was an indent. So I take my marker and I go around. The next step is doing this design, which is not very hard. I just looked at a picture on my phone and then I did this. And I know in the middle of the big areas of the circle, you take something small like this, indent it, and you can make your circles so you know where the circle's going to be. You don't have to cut it out all the way through. If you want, you can, but I may just make an imprint. So maybe I can put a big mirror in there. I'm thinking about putting a good size mirror size here. That's also a good idea because I have all different size mirrors. And yeah, so if you want to know how to do all this, watch further, and the finished project is going to look like this. So check out the picture that I have here on the image. And if you want to do this, then watch further. So everyone, I decided I am going to use mirrors. It's not blue, it's just a plastic piece that's on the mirror to protect it. Same thing goes for this thing. This is also covered to be protected. And this is what I want to use. I'm going to stick them here instead. And then I'm going to go around it after I paint it. So the first step is, like I said, doing the drawing. And now we'll do the next step. So what I've got here is my cutting board so that I don't cut through onto my table, which I don't want to do that. So the first thing you want to do is you really want to try to follow. I would suggest to use a knife like this, or if you have really big scissors that can cut through this, then use the scissors. But what I'm just going to do is I'm going to go slowly through this and follow the line that I made. When you're working with a sharp knife or scissors, please, If you walk with any sharp scissors or knives, please be very careful. So now that I'm done this, I think it looks pretty good. If you think it's sticking out on some ends here, what I suggest you do then to get scissors. So I got some scissors here, and what you're going to do now is look at it and see if there's anything sticking up. And if something's sticking up, like here, like you see here, cut it right off, because you want it to be even. Keep the scissors in a straight angle. You can see there's some areas that are good and some areas that are not. See, there's little pieces of, they're not even with this part here. You don't want to go too deep in. And if some pieces like this here are sticking out, what I suggest is just pull it off. So now that is done, what you're going to do now is the same thing for here, this round area. I can see that here it's sticking out a little bit too much. So I wanted to be able to not look like it's going out like this around it. You can see that it's all how it is here. You can see this piece here going out this way. It's not straight like this side. So what I'm going to do now is start in the area where I see that it doesn't look like it's supposed to. So, and then that's it, go through it. Now I'm going to go through this area here and make it even. You don't want any too deep of indents, especially here, or anything that's hanging off. You don't want that. So what I suggest you to do is go around and cut off all that excess foam that's sticking out everywhere. Don't go too deep, just go very lightly around the whole sides, and that's it. Now we're done with this step, so now we'll go to the next step. So everybody, I got some white napkins from IKEA. They're really big, but I don't want to use this design area, so I'm going to cut this off because I wanted to have it not so many indents in it. I want it to be normal. Or if you want to use this piece only, you can. This is the back side, so it doesn't really matter. So I probably will use this end first. And then I'll use this part for the other side. So like I suggest, it's a 2-ply. You can see that it is. And what I suggest you to do is try to take it apart. Usually it's pretty easy, especially if a napkin's a 2-ply. This one doesn't want to be for my friend today, I guess. Usually most napkins come off very easily, you know, but this one seems to have minds of its own. But usually this is how it comes off easily. Like I said, I think this napkin has a mind of its own. Or it must have gotten wet somewhere. You can use both sides. It's just that if you do this like this, you have a better chance of having a little bit more. And when you do take the two pieces apart, when you do washcloths, if you know how to do it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When it's 2 layers on it, usually sometimes the one layer gets wet, the other one doesn't, and the other one lifts up from the one underneath. So I suggest that you do that. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these all up in little pieces, even if they're like little squares, because this is the back end. So I don't have to worry about it being uneven. You just need to coat it up so you can paint it, because you don't want to paint that on top of the foam because it will not look good, and the paint doesn't stick to foam very well. So it's another suggestion with the foam. When you're working with foam, make sure you cover it with paper before you want to use hot glue or paint, especially spray paint. If you use spray paint, make sure you put a double layer of paper on it, because somehow the chemicals in the spray paint eats the foam. You don't want to have that. So keep doing this to all the paper that you want, that you need. I'm gonna need a lot, so let me get to that part and then we'll start gluing. So everybody, the next step is putting the Mosh Posh on. Here you'll see a little pieces of my face maybe, or half of my face, who knows, maybe all of it, don't know. Anyway, what I want to do is, I don't want to put the Mosh Posh on top of this area because of the fact that it's gray and it'll go right through. And I'll have used several coats of paint to cover that. So what I suggest is, the other side has tape on it, so you don't have to worry about it. Just take it off, unless you have the white tape. Then you can do that. Then you can use the white tape. That should be fine. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take your Mosh Posh and start going around it like this. Just a light coat. You don't want to put too much. And then you take your napkin, paper, whatever you want to use. I used in one of my projects on top of foam is an old book. And I put that as the decoration part. And like I said, make sure it's totally flat. Don't put too much pressure on it, because if you do, what's going to happen? It's going to look funny. I have an indent here, which I don't like, but there's nothing I can do about it. I just have to work with what I have here. So, make sure you don't have too much glue on it. If you do, wipe it off and then use it for the rest of it over here. Just keep taking the pieces that you want and go around. Put a very little bit of glue on your brush and paint over it, just so that you know that it's saturated, so that it hardens and it glues well. Take the sides where the fold is and stick a little bit of glue so that I can stick a little piece of the one I broke up and stick it on there. That is a good suggestion to do that. Like I said, don't put too much pressure on it when you do it, because what's going to happen, you're going to have a big mess there. You're going to have clumps, and you don't want to have clumps. So one more piece for now. Right to the end. There we go. And that's it. I'm going to put a couple of coats on it so that it's pretty stable. So as you see here, I put some here in the indent where the fold is, where I put them together. So I'm going to leave it like this now, and I'm going to let it dry. Hi everybody, this is what I wanted to show you when it's dry, how tough it is. It's very hard. And then this side I didn't do yet. You can look inside. This you can't. It's very stable once you put the paper all over it. So now I'm going to do the sides first, and then I'm going to do the bottom. And then, well, this is actually the top, but it's pretty stable. So now for the next step, like I said, I'm going to do the sides with the paper. Do it at least twice on all sides. And then when we're done with that process, we can go to the next step, which is the painting. So the first thing you need to make sure is that when you put it up on top of something, that it's stable, that it doesn't rock or anything. And once you got that situated, then you can go to the next step, like I said. Go twice over the whole thing. Now I'm going to do only the sides and work with that. So I'm done with the sides, and what you do is let it dry if you want, or you can go further and turn it around, just making sure you don't touch the sides, and do the front part. So what I would suggest is how you made the lines here for the yin and yang. I would try to take the paper and try to make it to follow it so that you still can see the lines where you want to put the other decorations that you want to separate the two pieces. Same thing goes for the area for the mirror. You want to try to make it so that, or paint or stones, whatever you want to put here, or you can make a hole through it. It's your choice. But I would suggest you to take the lines here and follow it with the paper through the whole thing, and then do the other side also, and then let it dry. And then, like I said, go over it twice. Then if you want to use hot glue or spray paint, it will not melt the foam. So that's the reason why we're covering it, so that we can use hot glue and spray paint if you want. Like I said, that's the reason why we have to cover this before we do any kind of spray painting or hot glue, because then it'll go right through the foam, and you don't want that. So everybody, I took off the tape that I had on here. And now, like I said before, what I want to try to do is try to go around here so I can have some kind of a guideline to exactly where it is. I mean, I'm sure with this white stuff, well, white napkins, you can still see through it. It's your choice. Maybe I'll just do that. And make sure you, when you put the start on the top, make sure that when you put some on, that you put it downwards a little bit here on the sides. You're going to cover the sides anyway. So once you put it over, or whatever, how you want to do it, just like I said, make sure you cover that whole thing. Make sure there's no foam left without any kind of protection. Because I said, the glue sticks really well. And it protects the foam. After it dries, it really does protect the foam from indenting. Unless you put a very slight coat, like one coat on it only, then it could be a chance that it may melt a little bit through. But like I said, do this first. Hi everybody, it's now going to do the next step, which is painting it. And I do suggest that you can see how very well and stable this is. So what you need to do is I'm going to pre-coat this with a white paint first so that you don't see all this paper stuff. And how I'm going to do it is with a thicker brush, and I'm going to use the dip technique. I will show you that next. So everybody, the dipping technique which I'm talking about is, I'm going to get a old cover here, stick some paint in there. So what I'm talking about is you take your brush, or tap technique, I don't know what you would call it, but this is how I want to do the paint because I want it to look a little, you know, like this. I don't want it like this, so I want it like this. So this side is going to be white, so I would suggest you use the white. And the color that you want to use on this side, you paint that, and then I'm going to use rocks on both sides. So, and you just paint the sides here like this, the area that you want to have it white so that it looks good. You may need to do 2 coats, but I will just go around the sides like this, because I will use some string all around this whole thing. And you don't want to put too much paint on this area because you're going to cover it with a mirror or with whatever decorations you want to use. If you want to paint it only, then you can use just extra paint. Use a small brush. I like how this technique looks once it's dried. Looks very nice. And the good thing about it, all these indents from the paper that you used, you don't really see it anymore, so you think that it's from everything is from the paint. Now when you're done with the top part, like I said, go around and make sure there's no bubbles. You don't want bubbles in it, so go around popping the bubbles with the brush just very lightly. You don't want to make extra ones, because when that dries, it won't look good. Here on the top part, it doesn't really matter. It's just the sides that you need to worry about, you know, because right now I'm just painting one side this color, and then just keep going around like you see here. And this is what I'm going to do all the way until about here, right where the circle ends. Well, the circular part here, the half moon part. So now I'm going to do this side. I cleaned my brush. I only have one of these brushes, and I'm going to pour my copper paint here. Because it's a darker color, definitely I'm sure I'm going to need at least 2 coats. So what I'm going to do is go like this. You can see, I can see right now, once it's dried, I will definitely need to have another coat on there. Don't put it too thick, because once you have it too thick, it's gonna look really, it's gonna crack. So you don't want it to crack, so don't make it too thick. So now I'm going to let this dry. And then we'll go to the, I'm going to put a second coat on it. And then once I put the second coat and it looks good, then we can go to the next step. So I see you in a few. Hi everybody, the next step is putting the mirror onto the circle area, and I have here, it's not a glass mirror, it's just a normal plastic type mirror, so you don't want to use hot glue on it. And these ones I got from Amazon, and you just put it in the area you want. This one got a little scuffed. Like I said, you just peel it off. Usually they have a protective layer on it like this. And you take it off, turn it around, and then you take this layer off. And you can see that it has like a sticky layer on it, and then you do the other side. And try to make sure that it's layered correctly. As you can see what I have here done, what I've done here, especially this way. And now the next step is putting the stones around the sides of it. So that's what we're doing next. So now what we're doing is we're going to take some glue. If I have any left. Yeah, there's still some left. And I'm going to stick the glue only on the top sides of this, not the side. And make sure when you do the sides that you do them correct, because you don't want the stuff sticking on the wrong side so it'll look funny. You don't want that. So what you do is just try to stick the glue only on one side. What I suggest you do is now you take a spoon and cover that area with the stones. So what I suggest you to do is cover this area with the stones, but use a spoon. And like I said, make sure also yes, you have to make sure you're over some kind of a newspaper. And like I said, you just take your spoon and move some of the stones a little bit over. Don't worry about the ones over here. There's no glue, so it shouldn't stick. You don't want to put too much at one time. If you want to, tap it down, move it a little bit, not too much, just so that it's flattened. Generous amount on top of it for now. Like I said, do it over newspaper so that you can later empty it off. Make sure you try to make it level, that it doesn't have all kinds of crevices like this. Try to make it level. Like I said, don't worry about the sides where it lays on, where there's no glue. You don't have to worry about that. Because, see, like I said, I got some little fuzzies here. And just go like this, gently over it. Don't press on it, just gently go over it. And that knocks off all any kind of excess gels or rocks that you use. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to let it sit there and oh, you could say a couple of hours, sit there for a couple of hours, and then once you're done, you can tip it upside right to empty out all the pieces that are still loose. And make sure you do it over newspaper so that you can fold that newspaper and pour it back inside whatever jar you have, so you don't have to worry about throwing any of it away. So this is the step. I'm decided I'm going to leave this side with the copper color. I could not find copper rocks that actually shine like this side, so I'm going to probably leave it like this. When we're done, I want to put something on the sides of it, and then we're done. So let's wait for this to dry, and then I'll see you in a few. So everybody, the paint has, well, not the paint, the glue has dried just a tad. There's still some pieces falling down. But what I want to do now is glue this on the mirror. You can use anything else you want, and what I'm going to use is the E6000 and hot glue. The hot glue is just to keep it in place until the normal glue actually hardens, because the E6000 will hold it better. Hot glue doesn't stick very well onto mirrors or glass. That's why you always, when you work with mirrors or glass, you need to use also some other adhesive besides the hot glue. So that will be the next step. So now I have the things that I need, the glue that I need. You're going to try to figure out which position you want this exactly. And you want it in the middle, so what you're going to do is, that here is a little bit crooked, so I'm going to have to cut it a little bit. So everybody, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put not hot glue, but the E6000, good amount on it. So make sure you put enough glue on there, and try not to get it on your fingers. So now I'm going to put hot glue on it, and then I'm going to stick it down. And that, oops, that's not supposed to do that, damn it. So what I want to do is I'm going to stick things in between it so that it doesn't fall backwards. And then you let it sit and dry. Like I told you before, the hot glue doesn't really like to stick to things very well, so just make sure it's stuck there together like that. Hold it until it's totally dry, and then it should be fine. It should be nice and stable. So we'll wait for this to dry, and then we'll see what happens. Hi everybody, here it is. Here's the finished project. And I think it looks awesome. It looks great. I didn't do too much more. I left the mirrors, I left one side without the rocks, one with the rocks. Always has yin and yang, always has to be different. So I put it on a mirror. You can put it on a piece of wood if you want. You can put it on a picture frame. You can put it on anything that you want. If you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. I would love to have you join my little family here. And yeah, if you want to follow me on Facebook, Pinterest, Twitter, or Instagram, I will post a link below and you'll be able to follow me there. And yeah, the next few videos will be coming shortly, and I'll see you then. Bye!